Hello, good people. Welcome back. Wreck Chronicles picks up. One thing that is so fascinating right now is we are experiencing a revolution by the Generation Z. This is quite interesting, and the guy seems not to be quitting anytime soon. And in many ways, they have really outsmarted the government officials. One thing that is so interesting is that nobody understands this generation and their tactics. Actually, the government should employ them. And as we speak right now, we should be asking ourselves, where do these guys get this intellect? And these are the things actually we need to incorporate in our management, in leadership, so that at the end of the day we are able to solve a lot of problems. We are confronted with a lot of issues that need just this generation to solve for us. We have had a kind of orthodox kind of mentality or upheld norms that actually seems not to be working with us right now. What I would urge the government is let us employ these minds that actually are being wasted. It's quite clear, and we are able to see because it's outside here that everybody can actually attest to it, that they are outsmarting the government, they are outsmarting the agencies, and they're making moves that we do not even expect. And this is an interesting aspect. Let's not just be pessimistic in looking at issues, but be very optimistic and also understanding that actually the problems that we are facing right now are not the problems that our forefathers actually faced. And with this, we are able to innovate and invent new mentality on how to create and solve the problems that we're experiencing right now. One thing is not about even protest. It's not even just by boycotting the protest. We have created a lot of impact, the economic sabotage. And you see, we're seated here and people thinking that they have really managed. They haven't. It's not that people are fearful. It's just mind strategy. You know, it's not about going to war, but about how you win the battle. You might be having a lot of ammunition, but if you do not have strategy, at the end of the day, you lose it. So can we call upon this generation? Can we sit down with this youth and have a conversation? Why are the people so afraid about this generation? Because they have this kind of a radical mind. They have things that they actually can be able to do that actually the generations that we're speaking on are not even comprehending anything. Why don't they understand that their communication is clear? That we are not going to fight for a politician at any point or given time. That we are not going to listen to anybody who is divisive in their thinking, who thinks that they are going to ride on the tribal line that has been laid there for years. We have created a situation that it's ungovernable, that you do not know who to approach or who is organizing and who is not organizing these things. The organic aspects of urge to have change, I should send an impetus to the government officials or the political class. And if they are not able to harness, if they're not able to allow themselves to come down and listen to us, who will lose at the end? One thing is clear also, that the generation doesn't have anything to lose. They see themselves as failures if they do not fight for themselves right now. They consider themselves as failures if they are not able to fight for the generations that are coming. The people, few individuals who are seated at higher positions, looking at them and wondering how they are able to manage these. We have been fooled for quite some times. We have been divided for quite some times, and it's time that actually we need to move forward. We need to forget about where we come from or who our parents are. And something fascinating also is that nobody asks even, who is your parent? Who is your father? Those are kind of names that we have forgotten. We are forging ahead depending on the personality. What are you offering? This kind of collaborations that we are having is quite amazing. The unity that has been forged by this generation is amazing. The lack of being divided into tribal lines or being divided into regions has been fascinating, as we also can attest to that. And how are we able even to maneuver through this? This is a generation that has created a lot of curiosity and people wondering outside here that Kenya can be brought to standstill by the youth. Actually, they have the numbers. 70% of the Kenyan population is the youth. And if the government does not take keen understanding of this, it's not just going to be over right now. Taking some of the youth to Saudi Arabia or wherever is not going to work. It's just like teaching a diarrheaing person some kind of, it cannot work. What we're talking right now is that the idea is already ripe and there is nobody who are going to stop it. So why can't we sit down and have a conversation? Why don't the political class listen? They have taken us for a ride for a time and they think that we are still not understanding what is going on. And you know, this is an informed generation, the generation that has information at their fingertips. Many of them work with the Constitution in their phones. And they understand their constitutional rights. We are not in that moment, those epochs where we will listen to somebody reading for us a constitution and ascending and saying, this is what we want. And because so and so has read the constitution, we have to pass it or we have to decline it. No. This is a generation that reads, the generation that has the information at their fingertips. So as we sit down here discussing about the future of our generation, this is a generation that already has the future, the utopian future they think of what they want. So why don't we invite them on the table? Why don't we have a conversation? And what we're talking of is that we do not want to be on that table to be discussed. We want to discuss issues that pertain us. We are no longer children whose decisions are going to be made on our behalf. We are the decisions, and our decisions are the ones which are going to affect us. So right now, as we enhance our problems and to prepare ourselves into the future, as we push ahead, the big question is, are this political class ready to listen? And are they aware that there is a disconnect between them and the Generation Z? If they cannot understand that there is a misunderstanding, there is a gap of knowledge, what we call intellectual gap. Come on. Can we have a conversation? Can we sit down and understand each other? Your needs are not the needs that this generation needs. This generation needs accountability. You're not going to give them 50 shillings and tell them you are going to shout my name. That moment is gone. Those days where people would be bribed by 50 or 100 shillings are gone. This is a woke generation, a generation that's asking you leaders for accountability. We do not need more. We do not need much. We just want you to create a conducive environment for us to thrive. You cannot sit here and the whole government doesn't understand the system of education that we are in. We cannot sit here and the whole government doesn't understand which kind of system we are having in healthcare. We cannot sit here and we do not understand what is the future of our nation, where the employability is aspect. We cannot sit here and we are comfortable when we do not know where our children are going to study and what kind of curricula they are going to study. And these are the questions that we're asking the government. Where are you? And why don't you listen to what we are talking? Where are you prioritizing houses when education is what we need? Why are you prioritizing building churches when we need laboratories? Doesn't it click into people's mind that this is not the generation that was there before us? Can't we have a laboratory where we can do our tests and come out with innovations and inventions? We do not despise the fact that we want God. But why can't we have another organized form? Because your cup of tea is not mine. Your understanding of religiosity is not how I understand religiosity. Our religiosity is based on humanity. It's not based on how you go to church and shout the name of God. We are talking of humanity. We are talking of how am I able to impact another person. We are not talking of how you are able to pray and speak in tongues or read Bible verses or Quran. We are asking a very fundamental question, the phenomenological questions, the questions that are before us. How are we able to maneuver through this and create a society that is just? We cannot just be speaking of peace when we forget the aspect of justice. If we cannot have justice embedded in our society, flowing in our blood and in our veins, then forget about peace. Peace cannot exist if we don't talk of justice and accountability. Why would I be peaceful, seated, and just being run over by somebody? For how long shall we sit back and watch our country being led into turmoil? Every time being told that this is the generation that is our time is coming. Now we claim this time today. Let's not be fooled. This is not a generation that actually God doesn't work in that way. God gives you that opportunity and mindset to solve the problems that are ahead of you. And God has not complained that he doesn't have enough churches. But our kids in Turkana are complaining they do not have enough facilities of health. Our kids in Turkana are complaining they do not have educational facilities. Our kids elsewhere are complaining they are not able to get even a meal. We have security issues all over. How is God going to protect the children in Turkana when we, our leaders, who God has put us in this place, are not able? Why make a 1.2 billion church when a person in Turkana needs only 200 shillings for his survival? Where are our priorities? Where is the humanity? Can we just sit down and understand that this generation is a generation that speaks of humanity? It's not about where we go for our religious nourishment, of our spiritual nourishment. We are not concerned where you pray or where you worship. We are concerned about who and what personality you are able to breed. And if we can embrace humanity, we don't even need religion. If we can embrace and feel empathy for each other, we don't need religion. But why would we have a religion which divides us into categories and classes? That we have those who belong to this class and those who belong to that class. That those who can be able to afford bills, afford a meal per day, and those who cannot even afford one per week. We are not going to sit down and see our children and our brothers or neighbors suffer. What are we doing? Which gospel are we preaching? What are our priorities? It is quite embarrassing that people who have gone to school are the ones creating bombs to kill other humanity. Is indeed embarrassing that people who believe they have studied, instead of creating job opportunities, they're creating churches. Is indeed embarrassing that all of us who have gone to school, as we claim, but are not able to feel empathy for those who have not gone there. How do we feel when we classify people? Where is the humanity? Does this political class seclude themselves from thinking? Do we engage reason when we are making decisions? Can we sit down and have a conversation on this? Can we people, the political, the leadership, descend a little bit and listen? Why do we create rifts? Why do we transcend the problems that we are facing? How are we able to harness all this if we are not able to pay attention? For how long are people going to suffer just because a few individuals have actually made a wrong decision? It is quite embarrassing that some regions are actually underdeprived and underdeveloped. And we have few individuals who are investing in Dubai, buying plots and buying other entities. Isn't it striking any kind of reason that we are able to stay in a society where we are secluded and divided into classism, divided into tribalism, regionalism, instead of peace that we claim? Can we have a just society? Can we begin by creating a just society? Then we can claim we want peace. It cannot begin from abroad. It has to be led. How are we able to speak when you don't listen? How are we able to say things when you do not want to hear? Why should somebody bring what we call empowerment projects when you can build a hospital and these people do not need actually to suffer for them to get this money that you're empowering them, for them to go to the hospital? Can't we just reverse how we are doing things and see the society that we actually wish? Why would you come and give me 100,000 when you can build a school? Why can't you just build a school, build a hospital? Why don't you just make life conducive, the environment conducive for business, so that we work into it? Why would a person be deducted a lot of money for housing levy and then you come give them money? Doesn't it make sense to you? Does this not make sense to you that we are tired and we do not need your monies, we just need development? Doesn't it beat logic that you're giving people motorbikes to carry who, for what, and to where, when the roads are impassable? Why is it that we transcend and forget where we are from? Isn't this what we call leadership? Can't we just have a conversation that centralizes humanity? Let's forget about where we come from. Let's forget about which religion we go to. But can we have humanity? And if we have this, we'll be able to harness, we'll be able to come together and reason together and say this and that, we can work on it. Can't we realize that people are dying elsewhere because of lack of good facilities in hospital, when some of you can be flown out for treatment in other hospitals? Doesn't it beat logic that we are complaining daily and you don't even pay attention? This is a sad generation, the generation that has really suffered and nobody cares. Come on, guys. Listen to us.